Okay, my name is Howard Eber, and I am an alcoholic. I'd like to welcome everybody to week number 650, 50, week number 50 of this cycle of the Big Book Comes Alive Step Study Workshop. We are working the steps as a group out of the Big Book, word for word, line by line. Today is going to be a little bit different, a little departure from what we usually do, because we are at the point of the 11th step here today, and we're talking about meditation. And if you're like me, when I came in here, I had all kinds of misinformation about meditation. I thought it was, just staying in one place and repeating a certain sound or a word over and over. Or when I was in treatment for the first time in 1983, the place I went was a co-ed rehab, and we had meditation workshops. And what they did in these workshops is we would go into the gym, and the floor was lined with gym mats, basically mattresses. And they had everyone set up male, female, male, female, male, female. And they said, grab the hand of the person next to you, lie down on your back on the mat, and contemplate God. I don't know about you, but if I'm laying on a mattress holding hands with a female, I'm contemplating, but it is not God or godly. So that didn't work for me. There's a lot of things I tried that didn't work. And fortunately, I happened to run into a tape a few years back. I hit a very low spot. And listened to a tape by Mark Houston. And if you can find this, I think it's on YouTube under the name of Mark Houston 11th Step, where he talks about having 9 years sobriety and going around being a speaker. In those days, he was one of the few first speakers, uh, touring speakers, if you will. And he was suicidal. He checked himself into an insane asylum because he was contemplating suicide. And when he went in, he took one book with him, and it was the Big Book. And he was asking God, what is he missing? What am I not getting in my program? And the word came through very clearly: meditation. He was not meditating the way that it would be productive to meditate. And it hit me hard because I was in the same situation. My concept of meditation, and I've been teaching it for many, many years, I still believe in it, but it's only a section of the meditation. And that is the section where I listen. The 11th step is about prayer and meditation. Prayer is listening, prayer is speaking to God, and meditation for me was listening throughout the day, because God's answers come to me from many different sources. It may be a billboard I see on the highway. It may be something I hear on the radio. I may be standing in line in the grocery store, and two lanes over, these young ladies are talking about whatever it is they're talking about, and that's it, God. That's what I needed to hear. If I had the tuner on, I will get the message when it's transmitted to me. And I still believe in that. But that wasn't the deep, meaningful meditation that I learned when Kathy came into my life and taught me about these things. And I'm going to try to my best of my ability to pass along some of that information to you today. So this is going to be a kind of a practical workshop. I guess that's what a workshop is anyway, where we're going to collectively do some meditating. And I'm going to put a tape on, and I'm going to ask that you do what it says to do in the tape. But I want to advise you about a few things. One of the things that this is Tara Brach is conducting this meditation, and you can find any number of her meditations on YouTube. I sent in the email one in particular. Andy, if you want to put it up, I believe it's um, 6.22. There you go. It's the first part. And there's the link for it. It's Tara Brach's guided meditation. And there, actually, I forgot I put it down, is the Mark Houston one that I'm talking about. This is in your email. And if you didn't get the email, drop me a line. I'll make sure you get it. Or you'll see it on the screen in a few minutes. You could take that down, Andy. Um, Someone was trying to contact me. Okay, in any case, Tara is going to, what you need to do first was get in a comfortable position. You're going to be in that position about 16 minutes. Take your shoes off, sit back, get your arms in a comfortable position. Try and breathe quietly, slowly. And Tara is going to ask you to inhale deep, as deep as you possibly can. Feel the air coming into your lungs, flowing through your shoulders, your chest, your arms, your hands. And then she's going to suggest you release that, you exhale. But I want to suggest that you take it a step further and not just exhale, release. What I mean is, if we're going to inhale and take in, say, 6 seconds, just let go after that sixth inhale. Inhale deeply, feel the air coming into your lungs, into your chest, into the rest of your body. And then when it's time to exhale, just release. It's like pulling a switch and floating down. And she's going to say to count 6 for both times. Don't worry about that. If you got 6 inhales and 3 exhales, that's okay too. Don't worry about the number. But if you follow what she's doing, I think you're going to find a new way of meditating. If you haven't been, this opened the door for me. Day don't go by where I don't listen to this particular meditation because it opened the door for me. It taught me how to go beyond this because I had so many misconceptions of what meditation was that, and it just was, none of it was working for me until those things I mentioned came into my life. Um, so let's do this. We're going to start with that. And then I'm going to start. I think we should have some time to go through the book as well. But I'm going to ask that you get comfortable. Sit back, take your shoes off, maybe take your glasses off because you're going to be asked to close your eyes. Just sit back. If you'd prefer to turn the video off, go right ahead. But I'd rather you kept it on so you could see collectively. There's something about seeing 100 people in front of you meditating along with you. It is powerful. And I'm asking you to tune into it. So let me get this started. I'm going to take myself out of that picture. So just a moment. There's contact only. Share sound. All right. I'm going to open this up and just listen and do what she says. And I think you'll find it quite rewarding. I'll see you all in 15 minutes and 17 seconds.
The following meditation is led by Tara Brach. To access more of my meditations or join my email list, please visit tarabrach.com. This guided practice is specifically geared towards relaxation, letting go, really resting with ease. Become aware of this body breathing. And begin to extend the in-breath, lengthening and deepening so that you're filling the whole chest and lungs. So breathing in, deep in-breath, and a slow out-breath, slowly releasing, letting go, letting go. And again, a deep, full in-breath, expanding the chest, filling the lungs. And a slow out-breath, evenly, smoothly releasing, so you can feel the sensations of the breath as you exhale. Long, deep, full in-breath. You might begin counting with the in-breath to 6 counts. And matching the out-breath, 6 counts out. And if that feels like too long, it's quite fine to do 4 counts, but let the in-breath and out-breath be matched. Continuing in this way. Sense with the in-breath an opening to receive, a yielding to the breath. And with the out-breath, a releasing, a letting go, a relaxing outward. Continuing with this long, deep in-breath, slow out-breath. You might find that as you're breathing, you can bring a slight smile to the mouth and soften the eyes. And if the mind wanders, you notice you've lost track of the breathing, just gently come back again, begin again. You might sense with the in-breath how much it's possible to soften and open and receive. And with the out-breath, how much it's possible to release, as if you're following the breath out into the space around you. Relaxing outward, letting go. Continuing with this full in-breath and full out-breath. And sensing that you can bring the breath and the attention to the small muscles in the face, softening, relaxing. Letting the tongue fill the lower palate, relaxing at the root of the tongue. Continuing with the breathing and sensing the possibility of relaxing more at the shoulders. With the in-breath, opening, receiving. Feeling the space inside the shoulders, and with the out-breath, letting go, letting go. Bringing the breath and the attention to the hands, letting the hands be soft. Relaxing and letting go. Feeling the breath and the awareness at the heart, so that as you breathe in, you open to receive. Feeling the aliveness that's there, and with the out-breath, the letting go, releasing, relaxing. Feeling the breath deep in the torso, letting it fill the belly with the in-breath. And with the out-breath, a letting go, letting go, letting go. Widening to sense the whole body breathing. So with the in-breath, you're filling every cell of the body. Opening, receiving. And with the out-breath, releasing, letting go. And now letting go of any controlling of the breath, allowing the breath to resume in its natural rhythm. A relaxed attentiveness. Aware of the gentle movement of the breath. The sensations in the body. The sounds around you. Relaxing back and just resting in this wakeful openness. Letting life be just as it is. Moment to moment. to moment. If the mind gets lost in distracting thoughts, let your practice simply be to relax. Relax open the attention, aware of the sounds that are here, and the background sound of silence. Gently scan the body, perhaps relaxing the shoulders a bit. Softening your hands. Relaxing your heart. Relax back. Resting in the awareness that's right here. Letting life be just as it is. You might ask yourself if it's possible to relax and let go just a little bit more. Gently scanning to notice the habitual places of contraction, of tightness. And with kindness and gentleness, just softening a bit. Namaste.
Everyone back? Everyone find that rewarding? It's powerful, 102 people. Okay. Maybe we'll have some time to talk about it later. Okay, we are starting on page 85 too. You know what? Rather than starting to read, I'm going to turn off the recording for a moment. Okay, welcome back, everyone. I was. Oh, my time is up. Bye. Okay, we're on page 85. paragraph 2. We have spoken about 10th step. We have come up with a bit of a way to remember the 10th step. Let's go back to page 84 for a moment, paragraph 2, where it gives us the instructions for the 10th step. The paragraph begins with this thought, brings us to step 10. The thought, incidentally, are the so-called ninth step promises. I don't, to me, they're not necessarily promises as they are, not promises as much as they are observations. What is life like in the fourth dimension? What is life like when we have entered the world of the spirit? Because this paragraph that we're about to read says we have entered the world of the spirit. And if any of you are reading the plain language big book, it's unfortunate, but you don't enter the world of the spirit in that book. That line does not appear in that book, and that's unfortunate. That's an important line that tells us after the ninth step promises, we've entered the world of the spirit. I don't know why it wasn't carried over, but it wasn't. But be that as it may, we have some directions in the 10th step. And 10th step comes out to be the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, and eighth, ninth step all rolled into one. And I don't see how you could not work that every day and not continue to grow spiritually. The instructions are continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. Clearly, that is the fourth step. Maureen, you still have the timer going. Can you turn it off? Or do you need me to? Yeah, thank you. So the first thing we're told to do is continue to watch. Watch. And watch for what? The Fantastic Four of the big book: selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. And then when these crop up, not if these crop up, when they crop up, what do? We ask God to remove them at once, to remove them. We're not asking God to do it at once. We're saying that we do it at once. We at once ask God to remove them. Then what do? After we've watched, we've asked, we now discuss. WAD. We discuss them with someone immediately. Again, urgency, immediately, at once, and so on. And then it tells us after we discuss it with someone immediately and make amends quickly. Amends, A. So we've got W for watch, A for ask, D for discuss, A for amends, and then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. WADAT. I find it's very helpful for me to remember those kind of things. Watch, ask, discuss, amends, turn. And the more you practice that, I think the more you can go from watch to turn, watch to turn. And turn is just to focus, change our focus from self to someone else. Even if it's as simple as picking up the phone and calling someone that may be struggling or may be ill. Take your focus off yourself. Turn. That's what it tells us to do. Turn our thoughts to someone we could help. And what happens? We have ceased fighting anything or anyone. Sanity has returned. And then we have our promises. And let's go back down, as I said before, to page 85 too, where Bill says, much has already been said about receiving strength, inspiration, and direction. Please note, it doesn't say suggestions, it says direction. We talked about this in the discussion on how it works, the way the first 3 pages were written, and the deal, if you will, the concession Bill made about the third step was that he would remove the word directions. But from that point on, he put them all back in because he only agreed to do it in the third step. And so here we have an example of that. He says that much has been said about receiving strength, inspiration, and direction from him who has all knowledge and power. And I'm going to suggest you highlight the rest of the paragraph in pink. If we have carefully followed directions, once again, not suggestions, directions. If we have carefully followed directions, we have begun to sense the flow of his spirit into us. To sense the flow of his spirit into us. Andy, can you give me 519B? I've noticed as we go through the steps, there are these guideposts, if you will, to kind of chart our spiritual progress. And I've made up a little graphic of that to illustrate it. It's in your emails. Here we go. And we start off in the second step by being told to search diligently. This is our spiritual progress. I search diligently. And for me, that's like being in a dark room where there's no furniture, no people, nothing but me and emptiness. Yet I'm searching for something. And by the third step, in that emptiness, I now become conscious of a presence. I'm no longer alone in that space. There's no furniture, no body, no nothing, but I sense another entity. I've become conscious of his presence on page 63 as we talk about step 3. And then doing a little bit more work by step 5, we feel the nearness of our creator. So we're not only sensing that entity in this room with us, we're feeling it getting nearer and nearer in the 5th step. And by the time we get to the 10th step, we've begun to sense the flow of that spirit into us, which is what we're talking about now, that we not only feel it near us, we feel it flowing into us. And by the 11th step, it tells us we have just made conscious contact with God, and we have entered the world of the spirit. It's quite a journey to go from searching to becoming conscious of that entity, and then feeling the nearness of that entity, and then sensing it flow into us, and then feeling like we have made contact with that. We have truly entered the world of the spirit. You could take that down, Andy. So Bill tells us to some extent, I'm sorry, if we have carefully followed directions, we have begun to sense the flow of his spirit into us. To some extent, we have become God conscious. I'm going to suggest you circle God conscious and circle right underneath it the words 6th sense. And I'm going to suggest, besides circling them, put an equal sign between the two of them. Because to me, that's what the God consciousness is. It is a 6th sense. See, everything I know, everything I learned, I accrued through my 5 senses. What I can see, hear, taste, touch, and smell. But I now have to establish a method of communication with my creator. And those 5 senses don't work in that regard. It's not something I can see, hear, taste, touch, or smell. It is something else. And that something else we gain through prayer and meditation, listening and talking and then listening. I'm getting some noise here, so let me just hit the mute again. Sorry to do that. Okay. We have begun to sense the flow of spirit to us. To some extent, we have become God conscious. We have begun to develop this vital 6th sense. Remember, way back, we defined vital as life supporting, life giving. Like your heart's a vital organ. Can't live without it. We can't live alcoholics. We can't, and addicts, we cannot live without God consciousness. We have begun to develop this vital sixth sense, but we must go further. And there's a must. We circle those or highlight them in green. We must go further. And going further means more action. So always build a Jewish mother, no matter what you do. It's great, Tatala, very good, but just a little bit more, just a little more. And here he does it again, that we have to take more action. And then he says it, and that means more action. Step 11 suggests prayer. Please underline that word, and above it, write speaking or talking, and meditation. And please circle that and, it's not or, and meditation, because meditation is listening for that message. And it could come, as I said before, anywhere through the course of the day. That message gets transmitted to me. I may be at a meeting and hear one of you say something, and that's what I needed to hear. If my tuner is on, I will get that message. And when I go into that deep breathing, almost like trance-like state, I feel the same way. I could almost imagine that I can hear the electricity flowing through the walls of my home. I can hear the hum of the refrigerator. In the same way, I begin to be conscious of that other entity, of that power in my life. So Bill says we shouldn't be shy on this matter of prayer. Incidentally, I should have added this. I think Ben or someone mentioned it earlier that in 1939, meditation was defined as thoughtful contemplation, not any of this other Eastern mystical stuff that we now, which is great. But what it was meant when Bill wrote it was thoughtful consideration, thoughtful contemplation. And prayer was defined as conscious dwelling upon the being of God. I think that summarizes it. Prayer is the conscious dwelling upon the being of God. I'm speaking, communicating with that power. Better men than we are using it constantly. It works if we have the proper attitude. Let's circle the attitude. And what is that proper attitude? Well, it's a number of things that I found. For one thing, it's faith. Maintain that attitude, not of belief, but of faith. And faith is knowledge, certainty, experience. Also, what else is the proper attitude? Self-forgiving, humble, honest, recognition of one's shortcomings. In other words, God will do for us what we could not do for ourselves, and that he will not do what we can do for ourselves. And I think that all summarizes that attitude. If I've just come through the 9th and the 10th step promises and the work involved in that, I would say that I'm most focusing on God is doing for me what I could not do for myself. It says it in the 9-step promises, and I experience it. So, continuing proper attitude, he adds something here. He says, and work at it. If we have the proper attitude, faith, for example, and work at it, please highlight work at it. And above it, I'm going to suggest you write step 10, because step 10 is my daytime walking around step. It's the step I use in the course of the day to deal with the events of the day. It is my daytime walking around step. So if I work at it throughout the day, that just reinforces my faith. It would be easy to be vague on this matter, yet, and please highlight this in pink because I believe this is also a good promise. We believe we can make some definite and valuable suggestions. Yeah, we believe we can make some definite and valuable suggestions. I'm going to, in an effort to save time, suggest that you highlight the rest of the page, beginning with when we retire at night, all the way through to the end of the page. We'll have some over highlighting as well, but just to make it easy, you may want to just highlight everything. So notice, please, the instructions for the 11th step start at night. I used to think that the 11th step was something 10th step was something I did at night. But I've learned that, like I said, the 10th step is what I use to get myself out of jams. And maybe it's because I'm getting older. I no longer get in jams at night in bed. So I don't need that kind of 10th step then. What I need is a review of the day. And that's what Bill suggests. When we retire at night, we constructively review our day. Please underline that word constructively. That means take a positive inventory, not the wrong things we did. How did we do today with step 10? The daytime walking around step is step 10. And we begin our retirement at the end of the day by looking back and asking, how did I do at step 10 today? Did I watch? Did I notice any of those things? And Bill's about to break it down for us because he tells us what those things are. Again, he comes back to the Fantastic Four. When were we resentful? Please underline this. Were we resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? Exactly what we were supposed to watch for in the 10th step. So how'd we do with it? I'm going to show you in a moment some suggested worksheets for this, but basically break it down and ask yourself, was I resentful today? Was I angry at someone today? Who? Why? I take out that 4th step grid from the back of my head and I go across the columns. Who was I angry with? Why? What basic instinct was interfered with? And what mistake did I make? I was taught it in the 4th step, reinforced it in 6 and 7, and once again in 10. And now I'm being asked, how did I do with it? And after that, was I selfish? You can break these down into 4 questions. And I'm not talking about the Passover 4 questions. I'm talking about the big book 4 questions. Was I resentful? Was I selfish? Was I dishonest? Was I afraid? These are step 4 questions. We started it at step 4. And in step 10, we're told to watch out for these things. And now we're asking ourselves, did I see it? Did I notice that I got selfish or dishonest or afraid? And I go across the columns. If the answer is yes, if it's no, move on. Then it has additional questions. The first question is, was I resentful, selfish, dishonest, afraid? That's number 1. Second question, do we owe an apology? Please underline owe an apology. And it looks like it's asking us, how did we do with steps 8 and 9? It's part of step 10, right? If we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Make amends quickly. So do we owe an apology? Number 3, have we kept something to ourselves which, and please underline, should be discussed with another person at once? That's one that catches me up quite often. And above it, I've written step 5 because it's asking me, how did I do at that step today? If the 10th step is the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th step, then this 11th step begins with my breaking it down. How did I do with those things? So, when I needed to, did I discuss it with another person at once? Or did I let it happen at 9 in the morning and then called my sponsor the next day on the way to work in the morning? It's not what it's about. Were we kind and loving towards all? You may want to circle that word all. And next to it, I've written, even when driving, and I got a couple of question marks. I have to be that way when I'm driving. How about when I'm in the express lane in the grocery store that says 10 or 12 items only? And I've got 3 or 4 items, and the gentleman in front of me's got a cart filled with 100 somewhat items. Was I kind and loving towards that guy? What could we have done better? Number 5. What could I have done better rather than MFing him in my head? How about I volunteer to help unload his cart and put it on the counter? Maybe bag the stuff, maybe carry it to the car with him. If I've only got 3 or 4 items, I'm not carrying a lot. Maybe I could volunteer to do that, to help that person. So was I kind and loving towards all? What could we have done better? Number 6, were we thinking of ourselves all the time? Ouch. That's all I can say on that. It's ouch. And number 7, or were we thinking of, and please underline, what we could do for others? Of what we could pack into the stream of life. And we could pack into the stream of life is numbers 8. Question number 8, was I contributing or taking? I've been a taker my whole life. These steps taught me to give, to focus on giving, not taking, not what's in it for me. What can I bring? What can I contribute? How can I help? Or were we thinking what we could do for others or what we could pack into the stream of life? I've underlined stream of life. I just like the sound of that. But we must, in green, be careful not to drift into worry. Please underline that word. Remorse. Please underline that. Or morbid reflection. And underline that. And above it, I'm going to break it down a little bit because I think worry refers to the future. Remorse is the past. And morbid reflection is right now in the current time. Mark Houston defined anxiety as identifying in your mind with some point in the past or some point in the future and our inability or unwillingness to meet ourselves where we are, which is in the present. Because God doesn't give us any tools for the past or the future. He just gives us what we need for where we are right now, right here. So I love how he picked out those 3 words because it really tells. I always thought I had a terrible anxiety disorder. It wasn't. It was fear of yesterday, of tomorrow, of morbid reflection, for that would diminish our usefulness to others. Please underline usefulness to others. And above it, I've written, my real purpose. Next to it, I'm going to suggest if you hold this page, but next to it, let's write see page 77, 0. And that 0 means the top paragraph. It's an incomplete paragraph. But if you look at page 77, at the top of the page, the third line reveals what I've just mentioned. Our real purpose. What is our real purpose? To fit ourselves, to be of maximum service to God and the people about us. Clear-cut directions. To fit ourselves. To fitting myself means to adopt, to prepare, to take actions. And what is the action? To be of service to God and the people about us. Our focus shifted from me to you. All right, back to page 86. After making our review, and I know we've highlighted it all already in yellow, I'm going to ask that you over highlight the rest of this paragraph, 2 lines in pink, because it's a prayer. Anytime it says we ask, and in this case, it says we ask God for forgiveness and inquire what corrective measures should be taken. Above that, I've written steps 5, 6, and 7, and possibly as well as 8 and 9. So again, we're going through those breakdowns that we went through in step 10, the things that we were watching for and so on. And we're asking ourselves, how'd I do with it today? I constructively review my day. We ask God for forgiveness and inquire what corrective measures should be taken. Please underline what corrective measures should be taken. And I'm going to suggest we kind of keep that in mind as we get into the next paragraph, because we're asking God for something here at night, which is if I hurt someone's feelings or whatever I've done during the day that needs corrective action, I'm asking God to help me know the right corrective action. So if I'm asking him at night, first thing in the morning, I'm going to ask, what do I do? And here's the second part of the step, which is on awakening. We begin the 11th step at night on retirement, and on awakening, what do? Please underline, think about the 24 hours ahead. That's what we do in the morning. We think about the 24 hours ahead. And we consider our plans for the day. Please circle the word consider or underline it. And considering our plans for the day includes that corrective action. If I have to take corrective action, and I've asked for that, well, in my consideration of the day, that's one of the things that comes to mind. But before we begin, before we even consider our plan for the day, and the reason I think the word consider is there is because we don't plan. We don't actually plan for the day because God may have a different plan for us. We consider the plan because that's the best we could do. Then God is going to give us our path. We consider our plans for the day before we begin, and I'm going to ask that you over highlight this in pink. We ask God to direct our thinking. Please underline thinking, especially asking that it be divorced from self-pity. Let's underline that. Dishonesty or self-seeking motives. So we ask God basically to get me out of me. And what happens under these circumstances? Please underline that. We can employ our mental faculties. Please underline that. That is self-will. Under those conditions, which is the absence of self-pity, the absence of self-dishonesty, the absence of self-seeking motives, under those conditions, I can employ my self-will with assurance. For after all, God gave us brains to use. And please highlight this next sentence in pink as well. It is another promise. Our thought life will be placed on a much higher plane when our thinking is cleared of wrong motives. Wrong motives. Self, self, self are defects. And be careful. Please be careful. Because we've already been told about good motives. Let me repeat what the prayer here is. Our thought life will be placed on a higher plane. Our thought life will be placed on a higher plane. In other words, my motives would be right. My purity would be right. The first part of the Oxford Principles, purity. So if I do these things in the course of the day, my thought life is going to be on a higher plane. My thought life is going to, my motives will be right. But please remember the cautionary note on page 61. Bill tells us, are we not, even in our best moments, meaning when our motives are right, producers of confusion rather than harmony? So basically, we're being told here that if we work these 10th and 11th steps this way, our motives should be in harmony. We should be in harmony. There shouldn't be a presence of confusion. And that's where I'm going to stop. I hate to, it's in the middle of the step, but we'll spend a lot more time on the 11th step next week. I'm going to turn this off.